to go through what we call the class observation. Now the class observation, the down and dirty, is it looks at the relationship between teacher and child, okay, and how those interactions may enhance behavior of some sort, good or bad. And those of you who know about class, that's all I'm going to say, because I don't know a lot in depth about class myself. But it's a really great opportunity to really think outside of the box about what's causing children's behavior and how we might enhance either good behavior or bad, negative behavior that way. But anyway, that's the only difference, okay? So 8 hours of child development, 2 hours of botanic observation for that first star level, okay?
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, good.
So if you're one of the first ones to jump on board, does somebody come and just like take your hand and
Yes.
point to the right way?
That's your quality coach, Holly. And Holly will say, Jan, this is what we're going to do. I'm sorry. I was confused you, Robin, with Jan. I'm very... Because I was working with you when...
I was thinking, oh, Jan's gonna get on board too.
The time I really worked with you, I was working with Jan too, and I always got confused.
I thought I just signed up to play. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Holly will come and she'll walk you through that process.
Okay.
Holly's going to guide you through that quality documentation package. She'll get you together as a group and she'll meet with you individually. I think she only has to do like 3 in-program visits. And I don't even know if it's 3 for sure. It might just be 2. I can't remember. But she's a great gal. She really knows her stuff. She knows family, child care. And like I said, she's there to guide you. She's not going to come in and say, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this wrong.
How long
She's
did
there
you
to
stay
guide
for one time? If she would come to my lab.
She will do it when it's convenient for you. And
So-
she will talk
It's
to
at 2
you
o'clock
about
at
what...
night.
She has done that, believe me.
Wow. So she'll come in, like, when you have daycare in your home, and assess you or watch you
No.
for like an hour?
I don't think she's assessing anything. She's not passing judgment on anything. She's there to guide you. She's probably there to observe your environment and how that works for your program. Okay? And look at the environmental rating scales, because you'll be doing an environment self-assessment, and see where you can enhance what you're already doing. Okay, maybe you don't have certain things in a dramatic play area that might enhance that aspect of your program more. You know what I mean? And she'll help guide you through that. You know, when you meet as a group, you're also there to share ideas. You know, what's working for you in this area, what's working for you in this area, you might not have ever thought about what she's doing, and that might help you out. You know, sharing ideas and concerns and working together through this process, so you have each other as support, which has been really beneficial. Other providers have learned a lot from each other in that regard also.
So you can tell I want to ask more questions.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
in the future, is this going to be mandated?
I can't tell you that. The legislature dictates what DHS does. So what the Department of Human Services, Child Development Services does, it's reflective of what the legislature says. So Parent Aware was put in place by the legislature because of the legislature and what they said. Okay? So that would all depend on what happens in the future. Right now it's voluntary, and it will continue to be voluntary as far as we know.
And all of your program, all these stars and stuff, is it years ago what they used to call accredited or something like that? No?
No, it's
Not
separate
even
from
the same
accreditation. If you
Accreditation.
are accredited, if you're currently accredited, you can be an automatic 4-star. You just have to have 8 hours of curriculum and 8 hours of assessment training.
So it is kind of the same.
Well, you
When they
have
come
to-
in and assess you
we'll talk
and
about
look you all over.
No, this isn't the same as accreditation, okay? Because they're working with you to enhance your program. Accreditation, you have to meet certain criteria to become accredited, and that includes some types of assessment and evaluation. But that's different from this program, okay? You have to meet certain criteria that are up to the standards of Parent Aware, so if you are accredited, you already have gone through some of those processes, that's why they'll give you the 4-star, okay?
To be accredited, you have to have it before you try to get accredited. I mean, they don't step you through it like what you're doing.
No. They don't walk you through it nicely. You don't have someone guiding you through the process.
Yeah. You're either there or you're not.
And if you go to, I believe NACI, the then there's, I think, the Minnesota Family Child Care Association, or the MLFCCA, they have information on it too. But also the National Family Child Care Association has information. I think they actually have an accrediting body that you can work through. But if you really want more information on becoming accredited, just send me an email, let me know, and I'll hook you up with a couple websites and maybe somebody to call and talk to where you can
Well,
get
would
more
it be better
information.
just to go through your aware stuff than to go through the accreditation stuff?
Depends on what you want.
What you want.
Yes.
I just wanna play.
Play is good.
Play is good.
Yes. So is that good enough?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Because I can talk more if you want.
No, I'm in the 15-minute parking bar.
So there, once you've got your child development in, your 8 hours of child development, and then you get your 2 hours of clinic observation, you've got your 1 star. There's other criteria you have to go in that quality documentation packet. But that's easy stuff that Holly will help you through. Stuff you're already doing, most of you. For 2 star, you have to have the early childhood indicators of progress training. Now, some of you have been around a while, you might have heard of Not By Chance. I think in 2006, they invented Not By Chance. Quality, I forget what the whole title is. You shouldn't be taking this. Quality and Practice for School Readiness, I believe it was. And there was a 2-hour session that introduced you to the core concepts, the environmental rating scales, and early childhood indicators of progress. Then there was a 6-hour that entwined all 3. And then there were, like, I think 6 8-hour sessions that met them individually. There was an 8-hour session on the core comps, there was an 8-hour session on the family child care, environmental rating scales, the environmental rating scales for centers, environmental rating scales for infants and toddlers, and school-age kids. And then there were the early childhood indicators of progress, and that's what you want, the Not By Chance quality and practice for the early childhood indicators of progress. That's the Cinnamon book, or the Baby Blue book, they call it the Periwinkle book, or the New Purple book. And the ESIPS, the Cinnamon book covers age 3 to 5, the Periwinkle is the new 0 to 3, and Purple is school age. So those books you may already have somewhere stashed in your on your shelves or underneath your garbage can or something. But they are really good books. It's basically the Bible for early childhood. Once providers have taken this class, they've been very, very pleased at what they're learning. It's one of those classes you're going to look at in the catalog and go, great, I want something like this. You know, it's too just theory and academic and all of that kind of stuff. I want something fun.
Where are these classes held?
Where are they held?
Where?
Here, I'm having a hard time finding locations, actually. We used to hold them for the longest time. Was there an Apple Lane here at one time?
Yes.
Or is it Austin?
Austin.
Only Austin? I know they hosted some here periodically, and they hosted some, there was another center I thought here.
Did you say all the MDE ones though qualify? Like anything the MDE sponsors as?
Are you the ECFE gal?
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
I mean, I've already done it.
I know it's gotten really complicated
Right.
though with the training, so
Right.
that's why we'll need to talk a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they've said that anything, but there's caveats.
Right.
So,
So what's your need for a location then? Like why is it difficult to find?
well,
It's
generally
the
the trainings are
training.
held in the evenings
Yeah.
or on Saturdays. So a lot of times if we go into community buildings or school district buildings, they have to have maintenance or custodians on staff to open and close the doors and clean up and all of that. So there's extra fees in that. We're a nonprofit, so basically I cover the cost of holding the training. I don't get much more than that. And a lot of times we don't have enough people enrolled to cover our costs, so we're scrambling to find funding to offset the costs to make sure we can hold these trainings in some of our communities that are less populated. But generally that's the case. Libraries aren't always conducive to our time schedules either, especially in smaller communities. I'm not talking about Everly specifically, but it's kind of been churches, same thing. Usually, they need somebody there to open the door, close the door. Sometimes in smaller communities, somebody has a relationship with somebody who works in a specific facility or is in charge of a specific facility, and we can get in that way. But if anyone has any ideas happy to take them.
We will work with you on that. I mean, we have, Mary and I and Jenny have lots of
Okay.
connections in the community, and I think it would just be
Right.
valuable for everybody so they don't have to travel, half an hour.
Yeah, that would be
or 40 minutes.
wonderful. That would be wonderful. Starting July 2014, our July through December catalog, we'll be offering a lot of the parent aware trainings across the whole district. Since everybody is eligible to participate in building quality, and anyone who wants to get a jump start in their training will be able to do so. And then going forward through 2014, of course, they'll be available statewide actually. So we'll have more available. Now, the primary training we're going to be offering, well, at least in this catalog and the next catalog, maybe not as much in the next catalog, but it is primarily parent aware related. And part of that is just, I have so much work on my plate that I really did not have a lot of time for the catalog. So it was easier to plug in all these parent aware trainings, and I'm just being completely honest. I don't get a lot of feedback from communities on what specifically providers want. I'm always available, my phone is always open, my email is always available, but I don't get a lot of feedback. So then I'm left to think, okay, I talk to some of the other stakeholders, licensors, what do you need in your community? And even if I have you tell me you want something about math, I will schedule that. Even if it's one person, because you know what? You want it. I don't have to guess what anyone wants. Somebody told me. And I'll schedule that. Because odds are, more than one person wants something about that. And hopefully for me, you do. And I get the enrollment, we can hold the class.
I had just a question from before. You were talking about Holly. How long is she going to be available to help people? Or is it just a limited time, like a year that she'll be?
With building quality, you will each individually get up to 30 hours of her time. In Parent Aware, it's up to 12 hours. And what we found is that primarily when folks sign on to building quality, they want to get that training done just like that. And that's what they spend a lot of their time on. Well, I'm here to suggest that you get a jump start. If you're really interested in participating, let's get that training out of the way right now. So when you do sign on to building quality in July, you get Holly's full attention for that 30 hours. You don't have to worry about training, taking up your time. During that time, you have somebody to bounce ideas off of, to share information with, to get resources from, to help you through this process. So think about that. Like I said, if you just email me your name tonight, when I get into the office tomorrow morning, I'll create a training inventory based on what I find in your midstream's transcript, and I'll email that to you. And I'm gonna, I'll tell you quickly what that will look like. It'll be in Excel. Does anyone have problems with Excel? Okay. It'll be in Excel, and what it will do is it will tell you, the first column will be the star level, the second column will tell you the required training, so it'll be the stuff here. The next column will tell you the required hours for that required training, so it will say basic child development, 8 hours. The next line will be what you have in your transcript that meets that requirement, and then the hours of that training. So if you took children's behavior, the practitioner's role from Center for Inclusive Childcare, that's 2 hours. You took it on May 3rd of 2010. That will be listed there. So you'll know that you have 2 hours of that 8-hour requirement for child development, okay? And then I'll go on throughout the rest. If you're registered for something that hasn't happened yet, that will count. I will put it in the appropriate place, and I'll italicize it and put it in red. So you will see that when you open it up in your computer, that means that you're registered for it, but you haven't taken it yet, okay? And then once I see that you've attended the class, we'll flip it to black, and I'll unitalicize it. So it shows up with the rest of your training on that Excel spreadsheet. Now, what I like to use that Excel spreadsheet so you can use it as a worksheet. So if you only have 2 hours of that 8-hour required for child development, you can, plan on taking 6 more hours of child development, and you use it as a worksheet, write in the classes that you take, how many hours they were and what the date is, so you can track what you're taking and how that meets the requirement. You get that? Because in the end, you're going to have to submit this handy dandy training inventory with your quality documentation. official record of the training you've taken to meet the requirements. So that's why you'll turn this in with your quality documentation packet. So what you'll do is you'll copy all of your training from that Excel sheet that I'm going to give you into this when you're all finished. That way your official form won't have any scribbles on it or scratch outs or anything like that. All right? Yeah, just go ahead and second one. And this will be similar to the training inventory form that Holly will give you to put all of your training on. Okay? So use the Excel spreadsheet I'm giving you as a worksheet. Once it's all done and you're finished with all of your training, you transfer it onto this form so you can submit it with your quality documentation packet.
I know I keep having questions. I was wondering if it's possible if, you know, you can do like Excel spreadsheets to accumulate all the data that shows the workshops people would be in more need of, then we can schedule them here in our community. But is that something you can do, or is that something we'd have to communicate amongst ourselves?
We'd have to communicate amongst
Okay.
ourselves, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I would love to be able to do that. And part of why I'm telling you to use this as a worksheet is because I am dealing with 20 counties in our southern district. Our quality coaches, there are 2 for Region 10 and there are 11 counties in Region 10. And I deal with both of their caseloads, and I deal with our Region 9 staff and their caseloads. So it's really hard for me to go in and update on a regular basis for everyone. If you're having trouble with something, feel free to call them, okay? Because I'll always make time for you. I just won't be doing it on a regular basis, so I really want you to take responsibility for yourself and your training and track that appropriately. Now, everything you've taken, again, if you take it through us, will be on InStreams. The other thing is, you know how I talked about the registry, and you go in on the Minnesota Center for Professional Development's website and you get registered? You have to submit a copy of your learning record from there. So once you get all of your information in there, you're going to have a transcript compiled there. And you're going to have to print that out and submit it to verify the training you've taken that you've listed on your inventory. Okay? So you're going to have this great inventory, and then you're going to print out your learning record, and that's going to show that you actually did take all of this training. So the raters don't have to manually verify, they can look at your documentation. Okay? Any questions there? Great. All right. How's that sound?
Barb, you're awesome.
Huh? How does that sound? As you're looking further down, I'm sorry, I put it down already, your list of trainings there. On the far right column, where it has some trainings listed, like when you go across and it says child development, and then it says child development, what the deal is VHS developed what they call Tier 1 training. And Tier 1 training is training that specifically meets those requirements. So if you need 8 hours of child development, you go to my book and you say, oh, child development, here it is. I'm taking it, it's 8 hours, I get it done and over with. Okay? If you need 2 hours of authentic observation, you take the 2-hour authentic observation class. And what's next? ESIPs. And then when we get into 3 and 4, start level 3 and 4, you have to have all your training for 1 to get to 2. You have to have all your training for 1 and 2 to get to 3 and so forth. Now, levels 3 and 4 are figured a little differently. They're in a point system, so they're more entwined with the quality documentation packet, okay? But the training requirements there are 3 hours of nutrition, and guess what, folks? If you belong to a food program, you can waive that. Woohoo! Do all of you belong to a food program? Most of you? Woo! Yeah. And I have information on one right down my hall if you're interested. So you can waive that one, or there are several ideas in that far right column. Tipping the scales, let's move, I'm moving, I'm sure you've heard of these. And there are more. So you're not limited to this list. This is some ideas, and it's the Tier 1 trainings, but there are more out there that you may have taken that will work. Now, training from your food program doesn't count, sorry. So that's all. But there might be other training you've taken elsewhere that will work. Obesity. Obesity prevention is a new one. That has to have occurred in the last 2 years. So anything in that column to the right will work. The Tier 1 training is tipping the scales for nutrition and obesity. 3 hours each. The next one is developmental disabilities, special health needs, behavior challenges, blah, blah. I like to just call it special needs. You need 4 hours in special needs. The tier 1 training is intro to special needs, 4 hours, easy as pie. But if you've taken a lot of maybe Center for Inclusive Childcare classes in the past, there are a bunch of those that will qualify. If you've taken fetal alcohol syndrome, some of those will count. So we'll just take a look at what you've had, or if you've taken other training, we can take a look at that and see what would work to meet that requirement. Supporting development, which is a social emotional language literacy, math, science, physical, intellectual, and so forth. The class that was created for that is called Focus on Core Concepts. Okay, but there are so many classes out there that fall under this that you may have already taken some. If you've taken any C's classes, if you've taken anything having to do with literacy that some of our individual trainers have created, you know you've met some of these requirements. There's some of the social emotional stuff, taxis big out there, if you've taken some of that, that'll meet the requirement. It also falls under special needs too, so we've got lots to work with. Working with families from different cultures and socioeconomic levels. The one that was created is creating cultural connections to meet that requirement. However, there's a lot of stuff out there that will count toward that already. So, you know, again, look at your transcripts, see what you have. And the last, I missed the curriculum one. Curriculum implementation, you have to have 8 hours of curriculum implementation. The one created for that is overview of curriculum. And basically that just gives you some insight. What is it, how does it work, what am I doing already that connotates curriculum? And then what are the improved curriculums? And that's how the last one, assessment, is handled too. It's what is assessment, how does it work, why do I need to do it, and what am I doing already? And then what are the approved assessments? Now I know there might be some concerns for family childcare. You're one person with 10 kids, different age groups, all of that, but you'll get a lot of insight from Holly and her experiences. She will help you understand how you can work it into your program. Now, it's not always going to be easy, but it's really important. And you'll learn some of that from your classes too. You know why it's so important. You know, with over 50% of our kids not ready for kindergarten, one of the things that's very helpful as they progress through their ages, through infancy, toddlerhood, into those preschool years and into kindergarten, is having some kind of consistent assessment. And I'm sure even you work with kindergarten teachers, I'm sure, on a fairly regular basis. They like some of that history, don't they? And there's a lot of our school districts. We have actually 3 in the Southern District that are working to align the process